Welcome to Unskilled based boss fights, where the least skill prevails. Yeah, this game has a very, very questionable title and is one of the biggest missed potential video games I've played in a hot minute. And God, is it a little bit soul-crushing. Now, skill-based boss fights is something that I've been requested again and again and again and again. I've been getting it for months at this point, and so I finally got around to playing it. And some of you may know that the last time that I played one of these types of games, I was actually very positive about it. It was a very, very early in-dev game called A Warrior's Destiny. And I had a lot of good things to say about that game. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you could probably guess, I don't have quite as many good things to say about skill-based boss fights, because this game has all kinds of problems. And it has some of the types of problems that I just question if the people behind it have any clue what they're doing. It's just so unbelievably mind-boggling that I can't even begin to understand the thought process of the people behind it. I really, really can't. So why don't we start with the most egregious thing in this entire game that makes it way more frustrating than it ever should be to play. And that's the fact that despite this game very clearly being intended to be played with multiple people, if you lose all of your lives in the boss battle and get to the end of it, you don't unlock the ability that you would normally get if you beat the boss. Now, maybe at face value, you could make the argument, well, Eclipse, if you lost, you didn't actually defeat the boss, so you shouldn't get the reward at the end, right? Well, you might be saying that if you were the developer of this game. But for those of us with a half-functioning brain, yeah, we realize that immediately that doesn't work. Number one, because even if you do 80% of the damage to the boss, if you die and you lose all your lives, you. If you take majority of the aggro of the boss for the entire fight, therefore taking more damage, and then you lose all your lives, you. If you get all the way to the end and die at the very end of the fight, you. But most importantly, if you cower like a bitch in the corner and do nothing to help, that's more effective than actually helping. Who designed this? Are you kidding me? I can't even look at the screen. Look at the screen right now. This idiot completed the boss fight, but I didn't, despite doing more than him, because he hid in the corner while everyone else did all the work. Does that make any sense? No. No, it doesn't. Plain and simple. This is one of those things where I really wish that I could just sit down with the people behind this. If the people behind this see this, go to the comments right now and be like, Eclipse, the reason we decided to make it so if you hide in the corner and let everyone else do all the work, you get rewarded, and if you actually fight the boss and take aggro and put yourself in the most dangerous positions, you have a far more likely chance of getting totally screwed, please let me know. Go ahead, go down there, let me know, because this is indefensible. It's indefensible. I'm sorry. There's no way that you could come up with an excuse to defend this. You can't. So, if you die during a boss fight, should you spectate and finish the match? No, Alt F4 and go join another match, because even if you did all the work, it doesn't matter if you die at the end. F you. What a joke. What an actual joke. Now, the other major glaring problem with unskilled-based boss fights is the fact that the skilled part of skilled-based boss fights is a load of shit. Yeah, skilled-based boss fights, my ass. Number one, because these boss fights are designed to be played with a very large amount of people, up to 8 players per boss fight, and the actual HP of the boss doesn't vary based on how many people you have, which means going in by yourself is borderline a death sentence most of the time. So sure, maybe if you're an Omega Sweat who sits there and labs out the exact perfect way to dodge every single attack and has the reaction time of a god, then maybe you can beat some of these higher tier enemies by yourself. But for anyone who's like even remotely normal, that's never going to happen. Regardless, if you're trying to fight against the bosses in the game, it's skill-based, right? Right? F***ing wrong. You wanna know why it's not skill-based? Because it is abundantly clear, based on the time that I played, that all of the ranged classes in the game, of which there are several, are very, very clearly way better than the melee classes. And I say that because going up close to half of these bosses in the game, they can snap their fingers and you die. Most bosses have a bunch of attacks that can only hit you if you're close up. And because the AI doesn't differentiate whether or not you're close up or far away, it's gonna do the melee attacks whether you're close to it or not, which if you're playing a ranged class is effectively free damage while the AI just swings at nothing. Oh, fantastic. And yeah, nothing quite screams skill-based like running backwards and shooting projectiles at an enemy walking towards you versus actually going up and fighting the enemy. Like, was this intended? Did they think at all when they were making these? Cause like, the way the game is laid out, sometimes attacks when you're close up are simply borderline unavoidable. I'm sure I'll be showing some stuff on screen, but how in God's name would you ever be able to react to some of this stuff? So then why would you ever pick a melee-based class? Why are they even in the game? People with melee die within 5 minutes, and then the people with the range end up either living all the way up until the end or stalling out the fight until they eventually run out of lives anyway. But the point remains that the melee people just get whooped immediately because there's so many attacks that will absolutely dumpster on you if you get up close. And of course we can circle back and factor this into what I was saying earlier, which is the fact that if you die, no matter how much damage you did, you get screwed. So if you're playing a melee class, you're probably gonna die pretty early, which means playing a melee class might as well be throwing. It might as well be throwing the game. That's just the way it is. You are throwing the game if you pick melee. You idiot. Yeah, sorry, skill-based hold S and throw projectile fight. That's what they should call this game, because, oh my God. Let's talk controls. I hate them. Pretty simple. There aren't very many controls in this game. There's basically 4 of them for effectively all of the classes that I played. You can jump, as you would in any Roblox game. You can dash with Q or E, which dashes you left or right accordingly, and then Z and X is some sort of active skill that you have access to. Now, you may have heard that I said Q and E are to dash left and right respectively, which has to be the most annoying mechanic ever in a game. Guys, why do we have 2 separate dash buttons that dash different ways? Is this just overcomplicating controls to make it so that way you're more likely to hit the wrong button and die? Yeah, it's overcomplicating these extremely simple controls to make it so that way you accidentally hit the wrong button and die. Here's a novel concept, guys. How about, hear me out here, if you press the dash button and you're moving left or you're moving right, then it dashes left or right. And here's an even more novel concept. If you're moving forwards or you're moving backwards and you press dash, it dashes you forwards or backwards instead of having to constantly do this incredibly stupid, strongest boring ground side dash nonsense in order to get away from things. It will never be intuitive to have an attack coming at you and you have to turn hard left or hard right in order to dash away from it instead of just dashing backwards. Dashing backwards, guys. Novel concept, I know. And it's just like all of this stuff just keeps stacking on top of each other over and over and over again. And it boggles my mind. Like, how did nobody say, maybe there's some problems here? And I guess maybe it's the mindset of the developers themselves because their own mindset is on display in their own game in the very tutorial. Yeah, we have such messages like, if you want to change your class, instead of having a button to do that, use the rejoin command. Does that sound intuitive? No, not at all. Or how about, if the teleporter breaks, you can reset to fix it. Or maybe, I don't know what's happening with the camera here. What? If you're self-aware with the problems that you have, instead of leaving Band-Aid solutions in the tutorial, maybe you should fix the problem! What? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And it sucks because there is some cool stuff here. I really like the system of the fact that when you defeat a boss, you get a new class, which means that there are tons of classes that you can choose through in this game. Although some of them get written off because they're melee classes and they're worthless, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that you can mess with, which is cool. The animations and particle effects, while in my opinion are way overblown and make it so that way actually seeing what's going on is next to impossible sometimes, thanks Blox Fruit, is still impressive at the end of the day. And so I have to, I have to acknowledge it at least a little bit. But then even now talking about this stuff and the positives that I have to say, I end up immediately thinking about some of the other problems, and then it takes away from anything that would be good. Like the fact that there are supportive classes in the game that can heal you, but 80% of the time that you get killed in the game, it's to a one-shot kill. So if you're always getting one-shot killed by everything, then what the hell's the point of a healer? You can't heal anyone, they die instantly. Or they get hit with an anti-heal, so you can't heal them anyway. So what the was the point? I can't grasp at anything as to how this no, I can't go on. I can't even formulate my thoughts. After playing this, I've completely lost my mind. This game is all right. I've said a lot of crap, but the game's okay. It's not horrible. It just has problems that are so blatantly obvious that I don't know how anyone didn't see them. And when that kind of stuff happens, I get a lot more negative because it just screams, we don't play our game, or we don't care. Or I guess maybe they just wanted to make it as artificially quote unquote difficult as possible by trying to screw you over at every turn. And I've played enough artificially difficult games in my life. They're never fun. And so when I just play another one, it's still not fun. I'll link the game in the description if you want to try it. Like I said, maybe you'll like it. If you have some friends to play with, it's probably more fun than playing it by yourself, as randoms are questionable at best in a lot of these boss fights. And again, playing it by yourself, completely impossible, so don't even bother. With that, I guess I'm wrapping up. So if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like, subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.